All right, IM2 classes. Today we are talking about factoring again, moving on to factoring. We're doing trinomials. This time our trinomials are going to have a leading coefficient, meaning that they're going to have a number in front of the x squared value. And there's a couple things we can do about this. First one, if you notice, so here we have 5x squared plus 15 x plus 10. Um, we have the number in front of the x squared. What I'm going to do is expand this. I'm going to factor out the GCF first. So this is going to have two layers of factoring. So let me explain what I mean by two layers of factoring. Let's say we had a number like 18. 18 factors in 2 times 9, right? But then the 9 has a second layer of factoring where it can go down to 3 times 3. This one, if we have a GCF, greatest common factor, it'll have that 2 layers of factoring. So the first thing we're going to do is the GCF. So I'm going to expand these things so we can see the GCF here. So 5x squared is just 5 times x squared. Plus 15 is 3 times 5x. And then 10 is 2 times 5. At this point, hopefully we've done enough practice. You can do this part in your head, but if not, that's fine. You can see that each 3 of these terms have a 5 in common. That is the greatest common factor. So that's going to go on the outside. Okay. So our first layer of factoring is we get 5 times that frustrating. 5 times right x squared plus 3x plus 2. I don't know why I separated out those so much. That's silly. But so now what we are going to do is factor. We are going to just look on what's inside of the parentheses here and see if that factors anymore. All right, so you're going to do normal x factor, 2 on top, 3 on bottom. Are there any factors of 2, two numbers that multiply to 2 that add to 3? Well, that's just going to be 2 and 1. So this, in the parentheses, is going to factor into x plus 2 times x plus 1. And I will fix that. And then don't forget to bring down the 5. So here it is fully factored. So check for the GCF first and then factor. Let's next example. So here, check for the GCF first. Again, I'm going to expand things. So it'll be 3 times x squared plus 3 times x minus 6 is 3 times 2. Again, hopefully you are getting good enough that you can do this part in your head. We can see each of those terms shares a factor of 3. So that 3 is going to go on the outside. And so then I have 3 times x squared plus x minus 2 is what's left over. Then I'm going to factor just what's left on the inside of the parentheses, so a negative 2 on top. Remember a little bit of invisible math, there'd be a 1 left over there, so 1 on bottom. Are there factors of negative 2 that add to 1? So negative 2, that's going to be a positive 2, negative 1. Keeping it simple, there's only one set of factors for 2. So, so 3, okay. And then this here, what's left in the parentheses, is going to factor into the x plus 2, and then the x minus 1. And that will do it for that one. So if you're working at home, some textbook problems. So here, what do we do if there's no GCF? If we factor this, it'll be 2 times 2. 13 is a prime, so it's just 13. 3 is prime is 3. So they don't have anything in common. They don't have any GCF. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the X factor again. But we are going to add an extra step here. The top, what we're going to do is multiply the first number and last number together to get this number on top. So 4 times 3 is 12. That was a dumb thing to do. I said 12, but I was looking at the 13 and I wrote 13. But anyway, 4 times 3 is 12. The 13 still goes on the bottom. Right, so the first step is we multiply the first number and last number together to get the top. Right now we do the same thing. What are factors of 12 that add to 13? So you can, just a quick reminder of how to do this, list out the factors, 2 numbers that multiply to get 12. And that's what we have. Do any of these add to 13? Yes, 1 times 12 is 13. So this is going to be a 1 and a 12. Here's the next step. Since we didn't just put the 3 on top, that's normally what we do, right? We only put the 3 on top there. We put 4 times 3. To get the sides, we need to divide back out by that 4. Since we multiplied by 4 to get the top, we got to divide it back out. So we're going to take that 4 and divide out the 4. All right, and then I'm going to reduce where I can. All right, so 12 over 4. That 1 over 4 doesn't reduce. 12 over 4 reduces to, 12 over 4 reduces to 3 over 1. So it's going to be 3 over, and then just to illustrate what's going on here. Yeah. All right. Now I'm ready to write the stuff in the parentheses. All right, to actually put out the factors. So I'm going to write my parentheses. Just like last time, each set is going to get an X, all right? But it's not just going to be X plus 1/4 and X plus 3 over 1, all right? The number that's on bottom, that is going to go in front of the X. So this becomes a coefficient. So 4 is going to go in front. 1, we don't need it, but I'm going to put the 1 in front just to show where it's going. And then the top number gets added. So it's 4x plus 1, 1x plus 3. And you can check to make sure that you did it right by multiplying these things together. So if you do 4x times 1x, that's 4x squared. 4x times 3 is 12x. 1 times 1x is 1x. So 12 plus 1 is 13x. 1 times 1 is 3. Another quick way to check it, if you don't want to do the middle term, you can always do 4x times 1x is 4x squared. 1 times 3 is 3. So you can just check to make sure the first and the outside match up, so that it's or the first and the last match up to get the end there. Let's do another example. All right. So again, I'm going to do my X factor. Black. So it's going to be 3 times 2 on top, so that's a 6. That's a -7 that has to go on bottom. So what are numbers that multiply this 6, add to -7? That's going to be a -6 and a -1. So -6 times -1 is +6, -6 times -1 or plus -1 is -7. So again, since I multiplied by 3 to get the top, I got to take this 3 and divide it back out. Then I need to reduce where I can. So -3 or -6 over 3 reduces to -2 over 1. Again, you don't need the over 1, but just to help demonstrate where everything goes, I'm going to leave it in there. And then I'm going to put my stuff in the parentheses for the factors. So each factor gets an X, all right? The numbers the numbers on the bottom of the fractions go in front of the X. So that's going to be 1X, that's going to be a 3X, and then -2, -1. And there we are done. So another example, just dealing with more negatives here. So just be careful watching a negative. I'm still going to do my X factor. I'm going to do 2 times. This time it's a -7. It's gonna be negative 14. Make sure you're paying attention with the negative 7. Yeah, I keep that negative. So 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. That's a negative 5 that goes on bottom. Since it's minus 5, it's negative 5. Factors negative 14 that add to negative 5. So you can check. So factors of 14 is just 1 and 14 and 2 and 7. These, if we make the 7 negative, that will be a negative 5. So it's going to be a positive 2, negative 7. So 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. 2 plus negative 7 is negative 5. And then from here, since we multiplied by 2 to get the top, we need to divide that 2 back out. Reduce where you can. So this one here reduces to 1 over 1. And then that negative 7 over 2 does not reduce. So now ready to write stuff out in parentheses. So it's going to be x, they each get an x. The numbers on the bottom of the fractions, the denominators go in front of the x's. And then the 2's, or the numbers on top, get added in there. Since it's minus 7 or negative 7 here, it's minus 7 down here. More problems. What to do if the first number is negative? What we want to do, because this gets tricky, is we actually want to factor out a negative first. So since this is negative, I'm going to take out a negative. So take a negative out here, or actually I could say I'm taking a negative 1 out, which is the same thing. And that's just going to change the sign on all these. Be a positive 4x squared plus 8x minus 5. So if that leading term is negative, factor out a negative 1. So it's that reverse distribution. If we distribute that negative 1 back in, it's going to be negative, negative, positive. But we took it out, so it's positive, positive, negative. All right. Once you factor out a negative 1, then you just go ahead and do what we've been doing. 4 times negative 5 is negative 20, goes on top. 8 on bottom. We need to factors in negative 20 that add to 8. I'm going to do this one real quick. This is going to be a positive 10, negative 2. All right. Since we multiplied by 4 to get the top here, we need to divide the 4 back out. And then we need to reduce where possible. 10 over 4, that does reduce. That reduces to 5 over 2. Yeah. This one here, negative 2 over 4, that reduces to negative 1 over 2. So once you have that all fully reduced, now we can put things in their parentheses. So they each get an x. The 2, or excuse me, the numbers on the bottom, the denominators get put in front of the x's. So that's going to be a 2. That's also going to be a 2. And then the numbers on top, the numerators get added or subtracted. So that's going to be a plus 5. It's going to be a minus 1. All right. And then we can't forget. All right. This is a common mistake that I'll see. We took out this negative 1 in the beginning. We have to include that. Okay. We got to include that in our answer. So it's negative 1 times 2x plus 5 times 2x minus 1. So let me write that a little bit neater. So negative 1 times 2x plus 5 times 2x minus 1. That will do it for there. I think that's all I have for you. Yeah, so that'll do it. We'll see you guys next time with some more factoring.